Hi guys, Patty from Patty's Crafty Spot, and I'm coming at you at a different angle. This one it's kind of hard to record because my camera system is up, so I had changed the angle again. I keep making these big projects, and if I keep doing them, I really need to come up with a new system for recording these. But anyway, my Christmas clock is all done, and I hope you like it. So it has a little pendulum clock on the bottom here. However, I don't have a battery to go ahead and put it in to make it go ahead and work. So you can just see it moving, same way it will look with a battery. But I use the Christmas Dreams paper collection. Whoops. This one right here. I use the 8x8 paper pad. Is that not just absolutely stunning? So anyway, that is the collection I used to go ahead and make this. My ornaments and stuff, I got some at home store, I got some at Walmart, and some at Michael's. So those are the decorations I got in there. I went with like the pink collections because it matches the paper perfectly. So I went ahead and did that, as well as my little greenery and stuff up here. I got that at Michael's. I handmade all of these cute, pretty flower embellishments. And I use the Heartfelt Creations dies to go ahead and make those. There is 2 light sets on here, so in a second I will turn it on so you can see it. There's 1 light set on the bottom and then 1 light set up here at the top with the clock. But you can see how pretty this is. Let me turn around the back. So this is very simple to make. It's just basically making boxes and stacking boxes. So I know it might look intimidating. Don't look at my mess. But that is basically what the back looks like with the clock part. And then the 2 separate light switches, everything is hidden down under here. And so then you just spin it around. And we have that, just like that. I use snow text on making some of the snow dripping from the different areas, and then I went ahead and glittered them using the art glitter. This one is Angel Dust, which is super pretty, and then this new very interesting squirt bottle, but it's not really a squirt bottle, it sprays out dry glitter. So you just use your art glitter glue on places and then add it, and it's super neat. I don't know how it works, but I am fascinated with it, and I will probably get a bunch of them because I want to get different glitters to do different fun things. But anyway, that is that right there. So let me go ahead and turn the lights on. All right, and then now with the lights on, you can see how pretty that is. If it gets darker, the lights obviously are going to stand out a lot more on here. So the pendulum clock I got from Amazon, and in the tutorial I will link you down below to the one that I used, only because this piece here is designed for the height of the pendulum part. So I'll leave you a link to that in the tutorial part. And I think I also give you measurements on that size if you were to go somewhere and look. That way you can go ahead and keep the dimensions all the same. But it has the 3 little shadow box style cubby holes here with my little nutcrackers in there. And then these flowers were super fun to make. I actually bought the die because I wanted to make my own flowers to match with the paper collection. So I actually ordered that from Country Craft Creations, the dies, just because I think it needed it. It needed these paper flowers with the paper collection so they match. And I love how it came out. It was well worth getting those to go ahead and get them all to match. I could have just bought some Prima flowers and put them on there, but handmade paper flowers, I don't know. It just adds to it, kind of like a wow factor. But get this little guy going. So that's what it does. I did try to see if I couldn't find a clock that had Christmas music in it because I wanted to do the pendulum with Christmas music. However, I couldn't find one. They're probably out there, but I also didn't want to spend a fortune. I think this little guy here was like $8 or $10, something for the pendulum part. But anyway, so again, the paper collection was Christmas Dreams. And I used the 8x8 paper pad, which is the perfect size because this piece here needed to be 8x8, which I also designed that in mind with the background for the clock because I really wanted to use this piece on it. So I wanted to make sure the box part worked for that, as well as making sure my clock hands here will actually go all the way around without interfering with anything. So I used the Christmas Dreams, I used the Heartfelt Creations dies, I used the Poinsettia and Holly and Hollyberry, as well as I got some of the sprinklets from the shop. Those are pretty. This one was Iceberg. It's got like the silver tones to it. And then I used these right here just to run you through everything I got. Art glitter glue to put it together, as well as hot glue, vintage photo for all of my inking of all of my edges, chipboard, cardstock, all the normal stuff. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this clock. It came out amazing. I'm really happy with it. Kind of impressed myself. I know I made the Halloween clock, and I had commented on that I was making a Christmas one. This is exactly what I had in mind when I was making the Halloween one. So anyway, now you have two different clock choices to go ahead and kind of do on your own. You can do these any themes. This would be so cute in all kinds of different themes, especially with the little shadow boxes in the bottom. And you don't have to use the pendulum. If you can't find it or you think it's too much, just go ahead and use the shadow boxes. You can do something super cute. So we're going to go ahead and get started on our next project, and this one is going to be another clock. This one is one I came up with an idea when I created the Halloween clock, and the idea was just stuck in my head for this specific one, so we're going to go ahead and make it. So let me just show you. So this one's going to be a little different. Let me grab my pieces. This one is actually going to be a pendulum clock. Now I picked this up off of Amazon, and I will leave you a link down below to the one that I'm using, only because the measurements and stuff for this clock are going to coincide with the pieces for it. If you end up getting a pendulum clock that has this piece here longer, so let me just give you a measurement of this piece. This one is about 3.5 inches, so this part here is 3.5 inches, and the base to this clock is made to accustom this. So if you do get a pendulum clock that doesn't have this, you may have to do some adjustments with raising up the bottom piece to make it fit your piece. But I will leave you a link down below to the piece that to the clock pieces that I got for this specific clock, if you want to get one. I think it was only like $10 too. It might even been less. I'm not sure. It wasn't very much, I know that. And it literally looks like a box that may have come from China. I'm hoping it works out okay. If not, it's just going to be a fancy looking decor piece with a clock hanging from there. But anyway, so let's get started. So you're going to start off we're going to make work on the top part of the clock. So you're going to need a piece that is 8¼ by 8¼ two pieces that are 3.5 by 8¼ I did already put it together, so I pulled my tape off. And then two pieces that are 3¼ by 8¼ and we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me get the cutting mat. I'll use this one only because my desk underneath is a hot mess and I can't get it clean, and I kind of think it's distracting. So I'm going to try to work on this foam core board. We'll see how far it goes, because I really like just cutting on my mat. So what you're going to do with the first piece here, the 8¼ by 8¼ we need to make a hole for the center of our clock. So the size of this as well, let me just show you. What I had to do was I did have to make this a little bigger than I wanted to, and that was because of the clock hands that came with this as well. So I'll show you what I did. So let's start with the first piece of it. So I'm going to flip this over. So what you want to do is we need to find the center, because that's where we're going to go ahead and put the hole for our clock. So we're just going to draw an X on here, going corner to corner. Okay, so this is what I have. So if you're making something different, or you want to actually design something of your own, this is how I came up with this one. So I think this is the clock one piece. It was this one. Yeah, it was these ones here. This is what I'm going to use for it. So out of all these here, this is the second hand. So the second hand, if you look at the little piece right here, that's all going to attach here. So this is the longest piece out of all of them. So what I did was, because I wanted to make sure I was the right size, I went ahead and just found my center, put my pen through it, and then just made sure I went in a circle motion so I knew how big that my clock base had to be. So that's how I figured that out, by just doing that. All right. That's just a little hint if you wanted to design something of your own. Or if you get something different and you need to make adjustments, that's how you would do it. So just start off with a base. I actually just used scrap paper, cut it out the size I thought, and then decided if it worked or not, and just went from there. So we have our hole right here. We need, our X right here, we need to make a hole right there. So I'm just using something, and I'm going to punch through just a few times. Without trying to go too crazy. Looks like my video's lagging too. I keep having issues with it, and it's annoying me. So now, just to make sure if it's big enough, I'm going to test and see if this will fall through. And it does. It goes all the way through flat up against. If it wasn't, I could just go ahead and punch a few more. Just don't punch too many holes, because you don't want to make the hole bigger and then have this little washer part here fall through. So you want to make it just big enough. All right, so that is that piece. So we need to move on to another piece. So now the piece we need to do needs to go ahead and be for the bottom, for the pendulum to hang through. And that is going to be, let me just check my sample. Yes, so you need one of the 3.5 by 8.25 pieces. And let me just show you what we're doing, because this was for my sample piece. So we need to cut a hole in it, and that's where the pendulum clock's going to go through, and that's the bottom. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So where is, oh, it's right next to me. So let's go ahead and we start with that piece and draw a line. So we are only going to go, I had to keep going smaller. So I am only a 1/4 inch away. It probably could be a little smaller, but then you're gonna interfere with the stability of it holding together. So we're a 1/4 inch away. And let's go ahead and find the center. So it's 8.25, so 4 1/8. It's going to be our center point. So I'm using my centering ruler. Here's the center, and half of 8.25 is 4 1/8. So I'm lined up here to 4 1/8 and there to 4 1/8. I'm going to go ahead and just make a mark to my center. And this one is going to be about 6 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 3 inches there, 3 inches there, so that gives me 6 inches across. And it is, yeah, 1 1/4. So from the line that we just drew, we're going to measure over 1 1/4. So right here, so from here, from this line to this line is 1 1/4. So that's the distance. Right there and there. And then our little marks. So we're going to just draw that up, make it squared off. And then the other side. And what I'm doing is I'm just using my little marks on my ruler here. So these are up against the edge just to make sure I'm squared off. So right here now, this whole spot is what we need to cut out. Okay. So that spot right there we need to cut. Making sure that you are centering because that's going to be important for when we make the bottom of this. We need to keep everything lined up. So we're just going to go ahead and cut this out now. And honestly, this part here is probably the hardest part that you're going to have. So if you're okay with just cutting a hole in a piece of chipboard, that is the hardest part of this project. Most of this, the wow factor of it, is going to be in the decorating because for the most part, the clock base is pretty simple. So we're going to make it all fancy with lights and the pretty paper. I've also picked up some ornaments that match the paper collection. So I think it's going to be really fun. I also was looking for a pendulum clock that made music as well, but I couldn't find one that had Christmas songs on it. And probably if I did, it probably would have cost a fortune. And we don't want to make a crafty project like that that is going to cost a fortune for everything else. All right, so we have that. So this piece here is going to be our bottom. And when we put it together, we want our opening is going to be on the bottom and it's going to be towards the front of the clock because when our pendulum part, when this part here, this is where you attach your pendulum, it's going to hang down through the hole. All right. So I have to cut some hinges and we're going to start putting that part together. So we got our pieces right here. I cut out some hinges. So these are 4 1/4 by the height that I need right now. So that's 3.5 inches. So I cut these at 1 1/4 and scored in the middle at 5/8 and I added some tape. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So these are the 2 longer pieces and the 2 shorter pieces, and that's kind of how we're going to put it together. So we're going to alternate between short and long. And we are going to, the shorts need to go on top of the longs. So the easiest way to do that is I'm going to take my long piece. So this is the 3.5 by 8 1/4. Is it the long piece or the short piece? Hold on. No, I'm sorry. We're going to take the short piece, 3.5 by 8 1/8. And we are going to go ahead and stick this right on top. Afterwards, we'll trim up any overhanging. So now you're going to take one of your longer pieces and you're going to set it on the edge because the shorter pieces need to go on the inside of the long ones. So the easiest way to do that with lining it up is you can take now your long piece and set it right up against your hinge. So this is what we're doing. So this is going just like that. So it's going to go to the outside. And if you want, you can go ahead and just kind of burnish it up so it's kind of used to folding. So we're going to set this in. So let's take the tape off. And I'm going to just go ahead and set it right in there like that. And then just that folded up. And there we go. So you do have a little bit of spacing here. And then right now you can go ahead and trim up any overhang because you do not want that. It will create bulk when you put your finishing hinges on. Okay. So again, tape on the short one. So this is the other half. So let's go ahead. So I flipped it around. This is the short one. Putting it right on, lining it right up to my score line. And then we're going to take our other long one, so the 3.5 by 8 1/4. We're going to go ahead and stick it in just like that. Making sure you're keeping everything squared off. So the height of this should line up to the height of this because they are all 3.5. If not, you might want to go ahead and recut to make adjustments. And let's trim that one. And now we're going to take our other short one, and we already know that our hinges have to go on the short piece. So we can just go ahead and stick this on both ends now. Okay, and then we can go back to this piece too. So these two pieces here are our long ones, obviously, because we already attached the other short one end to end. So we can go ahead, let's just burnish these up so they fold nice. Okay, and then we're just going to take our long piece here and stick it right on, just like we've been doing. And then we're going to do the same thing to this side. It's just going to go right on the black hinge, right up against. You know, I got to turn it this way because I'm not left-handed. So make sure you're lined up. Just like that. So we're good. And now, so keep in mind, this piece here with the skinny is at the top. So if you see it like this, we're going to set it down so it's sticking up. And then this piece, we are going to go ahead and glue on. And as we glue it, we are going to square up our box. So give it a test first, make sure everything is going to fit nice. If it's off a tad bit, don't worry about it because your finishing hinges will hide any of that. So I'm going to get my art glitter glue. And I just shook it up because I haven't used it in a minute. So not that it settles or even need to shake it. I sometimes don't, but I just felt the urge to shake it. All right, so now what we're going to do is apply glue all the way around to the top. And that will help square it off. And the glue also gives us a minute to kind of make it all nice and even if we need to. And then we'll just add our hinges to it afterwards. Before you attach the four sides, you could have added some glue in between these ones here before you added the fourth one in. You could have added some glue. I probably should have, but I wasn't thinking. So we're just going to set it on top. and we are just going to keep moving it till we square. And it doesn't take long either for it to not dry, but adhere to it. So you can go ahead and you have a little bit of time to go ahead and square it off, but it's also going to hold when you start pressing it in, because it does work pretty quickly. And it's actually pretty good now. The glue off my fingers. Okay. And it is off just a smidge right there. So I'm probably not going to worry about that too much, because I don't think it's a lot. And I also don't want to really trim it, because it'll mess up the shape of this. But the hinges, when I put the hinges on top, it's going to hide any of that anyway, so it's not really even very much. Like, it's just a little bit, and you're not even going to see that anyway. All right, so speaking of what you might see is when we put our hinges on, the way they line up, you may or may not see these corners. So you're going to want to go in with a Sharpie and just hit the corners. Just like that. Just in case any of it, the hinges when we put them on don't quite line up. So it's still drying. So I'm going to give that a minute to dry. I'm going to go ahead and Sharpie the corners and I'll show you. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and add our finishing hinges. I went ahead with some Sharpie. I actually had to get a new Sharpie because it wasn't good enough. So I'm going to use my finishing hinges. So I cut these at 8 1/4 by the 1 1/4, scoring in the middle at 5/8, added tape. So we're going to go ahead and start making this a little more sturdy. So folding my hinge in half, whoops, and I'm just going to trim back from the corner, just like that. We're just going to attach them on, so give it a little, whoops, we're going to wait on that one. So we're going to wait, hold off for a second on there. And we have this one here like that. So I like to take the piece with the tape still on, set it on the top, and then just push in with my finger so it's up against the edge, and then the part that I removed the tape, just press on. Don't press too hard because you don't want to collapse your box yet. And then just go ahead, before I stick it, just burnish it. Oops. Like that, and then press it down, and then I'm just going to flip it inside and make sure we're good. And then next one, same thing. Folding it. There we go. And then let's do this side. And making sure I'm pressing right up against the corner, so I'm pressing right on that edge just to make sure that it is where it needs to be. And then I'm just burnishing just to make sure it goes flat against the chipboard. Sometimes it's not completely flat when you do it, so you do want to make sure that you do get it flat. So now for this one here, we're going to go ahead and add it, but we need to trim it. So let's go ahead. Okay. So I'm gonna, again, right on top, making sure it is against the edge. And I'm gonna stick this one down. Do this one last because you want the box to be more sturdy when you go to make the cuts. So you can see this is why we add the Sharpie to the corners, just in case it doesn't line up. We don't want it showing through. And that's where it's kind of sticking up, but it'll be all covered with everything. And I'm also going to put some snow text on it, so we can always embellish, add embellishments to hide any flaws. So this part here now, you need to trim it. So if you look inside, oh well, can you see? You can see it that way. So I'm just going to snip it there. In there. You're not going to see this part. This is just to add the finish and hinge there. And that's just because it's in the front and you need this on the front part. So now I'm just going to go in and burnish it down. Make sure it's all good. Okay. And again, that is just so we can put the finish and hinge on the front, on the bottom. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to do all of this with you. I will do one just to show you, and then the rest of it I'm just going to do off camera, just because it's just going to waste a lot of video. So I went ahead and I have more of my hinges, so I want to get them to fit inside here. But obviously you can see this one is too big, so just have to trim it so you can get it to fit in there. And I think I got to just snip my corner a little. Okay, so it's going to fit just like that. So let's get the tape off. And this is just to go ahead, oops. So I'm putting it all the way up against the corner. I can press this one down. And let's get this one off. Just like that. And I'm going to do 3.5-inch ones to do this part, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay ones over the top as well, trimming them just to finish all this off nicely. Don't worry about the bottom. We're not going to do this one yet because we need to attach this to the bottom piece, and we're just going to lay hinges over the top of it. So it'll clean that up when we do that part. And the same with this piece. Oops, the same with the back part of this here. So just concentrate on the 4 corners coming up there and there, and then just like the U shape on the top and down here on the bottom. All right, I'll put those on and then I'll show you what I did do. So these are all of my finishing hinges. So again, I didn't put anything on here or up there. So you will notice that it is a little flimsy, all of it is. So the one good part about this was when I made my sample, I didn't touch it for a bit, but I kind of threw my decorations and stuff on top, and I started to have this part here sag a little bit, and I don't know if it was just because I used just some tape to hold it together, or if it's actually going to sag because of the weight of the ornaments. So, however, if it does do that, we're actually going to put some supports in here, but we're going to get a good part of this assembled first, and then we'll do the supports last before we go ahead and start embellishing it and stuff like that. So this is all it for the top. So that was pretty simple, wasn't it? We do have some other pieces that we're going to be making. So I will insert a video from my Halloween clock that I did on how to make these. So don't get confused with that when you go to put it together. The idea of how to do these is all the same. I'll give you the measurements when I get done with the bottom. But just to give you a heads up, when you make these, the video to show you how to make these is going to be the Halloween one. And I do mention the Christmas project in that video because I was planning on doing this on these ones. So I just didn't want to have to create another whole video making these when I already have one. So anyway, you'll have to make these guys at some point. But we are going to go ahead now and move on to the bottom. But as far as the top part of the clock, that's it. We are done with this guy. We're going to go ahead now and make the bottom. So what you're going to need for the bottom piece is 2 pieces, 3.5 by 12, 1 piece, 12 by 6 3/4, and 4 pieces, 3.5 by 6 5/8. We're making this exactly like we made the top piece. However, we are going to do it a little, the assembly is a little different, and we're going to go ahead and add our supports for the bottom now. And then the top we'll add afterwards when we get the clock pieces in and we know what we need for room. So let's go ahead and start with this piece here. So just like we did on the top, we're going to go ahead and make some cuts first. And then the whole assembly is just identical. So, or almost identical. Except for on this piece where our clock part here, this is where the clock face goes and the opening it is in the back. The bottom piece is going to be the opposite direction. So if you did make the Halloween clock, you can follow what we're doing, but the bottom piece will actually be facing the front because this is where we're going to go ahead and add decorations to the bottom part. So let's get started. So I'm just going to make a line 1/4 inch. And then again, finding my center, because this is important now to get the top and the bottom piece lined up. So my center. And again, we're going to do 6 inches. So, oops, my center. So obviously it's 12. Half of that would be 6. So that's the center point. And we're going to make a mark at the 3 inch here and the 3 inch here. And that's going to give us the 6 inches we want here. And then just like the other one, oh, and then from this line we just made, we're going over 1 1/4 inches. So I'm lining it up. And then over here, this was my tick mark. So it's obviously going to be even. So you have the 6 here. It's a 12-inch piece. So 3 and 3 is 12 inches. So from here over, we're just going to measure over 3 inches. Okay. And then on this piece here, we are cutting out this little section. Okay. go ahead and trim it up. Okay. Turn it around this way. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it is raining here. And I was like, I am crafting in this. I've been so busy at work. I took a promotion at work, so temporary, hoping it'll be permanent. Pretty much the same position I took last year at this exact time. Hopefully this time it is a permanent position. Last time it was not ever meant to be permanent. So hopefully. So needless to say, I haven't had a lot of time to craft, and I missed it. So I was actually off today. Sort of off. I still went in, but I wanted to craft something, and then of course the rain. Can't help but want to craft in the rain. All right, so there is that piece. So this piece here, so here's my clock. So when we do put it together now, you will see that these will line right up. So when we do the bottom, our pendulum clock can hang right in there. So now the whole assembly now, for the most part, is the same. However, the back piece here is going to go like this, and then the open spot, this will be in the front. So I am going to go ahead, cut some hinges. We only need 2 of those because these braces we're going to add afterwards. So let me get some hinges cut and we'll start putting that piece together. All right, so let's get to assembling. Same thing. So the shorter pieces are going to have these guys. And let's just go ahead and add on both short pieces, the one on each end. Hopefully my fan is not bothering you guys. I put my heat on. However, I turned it off on the thermostat, and my house is still 10,000 degrees. So I might have to actually go turn off the furnace. But I was melting, so I put the fan on. But it's also very windy right now. I guess we have a wind warning issue coming or out. So when it does get a little windy, it catches the fan, and it's making it go like faster. All right, so just like before, we're going to go ahead the longer piece down first. Stick that on. Any overhang, let's try scissors. Might be easier than the craft knife. Yeah, actually that was easier. So trim up anything. And let's go with the other long piece. Same thing. Now because these pieces are so long, they are very flimsy. So again, I don't think there's a need to double them up. If you do double up, it does change your dimensions and stuff that you need to cut. So we're going to add supports inside so we don't have that problem. All right, so then this one, let's do, see what I mean? It's flimsy. So let's do this one first, and then we're going to actually add glue this time because I remember. So again, setting it right in there. Just like that. So now we can go ahead, before we put the fourth one on, we're just going to go ahead, throw some glue in just to make it a little more sturdy, especially for this piece because it is so much longer. And I just put glue on that hinge. So let's bring it all over. Okay. And let's turn that up. Because any of the hinges, if they're sticking up, they are going to affect your piece sitting flat. So just make sure. So for this one here, this piece here, we're going to put it down. So the other piece we did up, this one we want to go down. And this is going to sit right on top. Again, just the same way we did it before, we're going to go ahead and add glue all the way around. Let's get that stuck up. Sometimes when I peel it off, I lose layers of the chipboard, unfortunately. So I just want to make sure it's glued down. If you're unsure about gluing, you can go ahead and do hinges. And make sure you do test it out that you are going to be lined up. And I would say don't hold off on this step. If you glue the 4 sides together like we just did, make sure you glue the top because you don't want the glue on those to dry your box actually crooked. Oops, pushed it down too hard. There you go. Whoops. All right, so I think that is, whoops. It is such a long piece, so just be careful. All right, so I look like I'm lined up. I'm going to give that a minute to try to get it to just dry before I start moving that one and adding finishing hinges. I do see a gap over on this end right here, but the hinges will cover that. I just don't want to play too much with it because then I will crash it. So let's give that a minute to dry. Okay, I think we're pretty well glued down now. It's glued down enough where I can kind of handle it. So let's go ahead. So I'm not liking that corner, but again, I don't want to trim it because I might, well, it is the back. We'll just add the hinges. Oops. So let's go ahead and get some hinges on this part. So this one, these hinges are long. They're 12 inches. So you cut your hinges again the length of what you need them by 1 1/4, scoring in the middle at ½ inch. And you know what I did forget to do is, oops, Oops, it's the dead one. Just hit the corners. Let me do that real quick. Okay, added the Sharpie to all my corners. So let's go ahead and get these guys on. So same way, although being a longer piece, it is a little more challenging. So here. And until we get some more pieces on, just be careful pushing on it. Okay. When I remember, I do try to make sure that I check to make sure things will line up. Sometimes I just get more excited about getting it done and trying to slap it on than testing. And then these should be my shorter pieces. So as you can tell, this is the same steps that we already did. So I'll finish a little more with you, and then I'll just finish the rest off camera. Make sure it's pressed down good. All right, so we have that. This is the back, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead, add the finishing hinges from the corners, do those up, do all the ones around the side, except for the bottom right now. We're going to hold off on that one, and we'll do that one together. Again, it's going to be the same thing, though, that we did on the other. We're not going to do anything on the inside yet, but I am going to put the piece over here and trim it up. So anyway, that's where we are right now. So I'm going to go all the way around inside, the tops, and across this part here. And I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I have all of those pieces on right there, everything except for the front. So we're just going to do a little bit different with the front. I need to go ahead and put a finishing hinge on here. However, if you were to go ahead and put this guy on like this, you have a lot of overhang here. So I don't really want that much overhang, and we know that this is a 1/4 inch. So we're just going to trim up a hinge to kind of fit a little better. So we are going to make a 1/4 inch hinge. So let's go ahead. Oops. And this one's going to be a little challenging so it does not move, because the tape is going to make it slippery. Okay. Let's just trim that one. Okay, so now we have a little shorter guy, and we'll just come short of that, which is fine. And we're going to attach this one just the same. And it's just be careful when you're pushing down. I just actually pushed down a little too hard. All right, so that's what we have right there. So we just need to do one more thing before we continue. So you need to take these two pieces right here. These are going to be our supports, and we are going to stick them right inside. Might have to trim a little bit off. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to trim a smidge because what is holding it up is right now is the cardstock, the hinges. So I am just going to trim a super sliver. And by super sliver, I mean super sliver. See right there. Very little bit. And that's perfect, actually. So let me do the same thing to the other one. Remember, that's the new crafty term, super sliver. And it is literally about the thickness of 2 pieces of cardstock. And that one is good too. Okay, so we need to cut some hinges and a shim. So what I'm going to do is take these 2 pieces and I'm going to put a finishing hinge on the edge because that is what is going to, at the moment, oops, that's what's, oh, I'm not even on camera. That's what's going to stick out here, so we want a finishing hinge on the outside. Okay, this is what they look like now. I added them and they're going to go ahead and go into these spots here. However, what we need to do first is we're going to make a shim. So this is 2 and okay, this is 3 inches here. So this is 2 7/8. Hold on, questioning myself. Yeah, 2 7/8 because it's taking up the 1/8 inch of this part here, and we cut this over 3 inches. So I want that to line up right there. And it's just a shim, and then when you put this piece in, you should line up right with this spot here, and then the bottom will just find its own because you're going to have this piece up against there. So I'm kind of confident with that. So what we need to do first is let me cut some hinges. Okay, so I have my hinges. The first thing we need to do is I'm going to put the hinge right now on the outside portion of this. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I want to line this up dead even with my cardstock. So I'm using my fingers to kind of guide me. Okay, we'll do it this way. So I have this dead even, no overhang. So what we're going to do now is take my shim. It's going to go in the bottom like that. My hinge, I'm going to just test it out to make sure I am lined up. Take the tape off of one, the only one. I'm going to go ahead and stick it back in and place it where it needs to go. And I'm kind of really eyeballing where the edge of all this is. And I feel like my shim is actually a little short. So I'm going to just follow this more and then kind of let the bottom here just find its. So this is what we have. So we have a flappadoodle. And we're going to go ahead and add the hinge now. The other one to the other side here to get it a little more straight. So I'm going to trim this up. And we're going to add some glue. So go ahead and straighten it up. Again, I am going to be eyeballing my opening here. Hold on. All right, so when I'm going to put the other hinge on over here, what I want to do is make sure this part here, so this is my hinge, I want to make sure that this is even completely with that. So what I want to do first is add some glue. So I'm just laying that down, putting some glue in. And let's get my hinge. So I'm going to line it up here. And let's get this side off. Bring it up, lining it right there. So you still have wiggle room until we go ahead and add something on that. So we know that that right there is an 1.25" opening. So I'm going to cut a little hinge at 1.25". Let's test it. If it's in there good. So I'm going to go ahead first and stick it onto, let's see, where am I best? Well, I'm going to stick it to the outside first. So right here is the little hinge. So I'm going to make sure I line that right where I need it. And secure that piece right there, just like that. So now we are lined up nice and even right here. Looks good. And now I'm going to do hinges on the bottom because this is still loose. So let's get those on. So that's 3.5. So I'm actually going to use the grid right here because this is 3 inches. So I'm lining up to the inside edge of my wall to my little line on my grid. And then this one should be able to come over. So let's see. Let's do, so I'm putting this on, this piece here is on this piece right now, and then I'm going to attach this piece. So let's get it ready to go. I'm going to leave it, hold it up with my fingers. Oops. And there we go. So then I just stuck that down like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a finishing hinge right here. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And then I need a finishing hinge right up in that corner there. So that one, will this be big enough? How wide is that? 2 inches. So let's trim that one. That looks good. And it'll add a little more stability to that part. There we go. So let's go ahead and do the other side. Let's try a little something different. So let's go ahead and put this one on like we did, right up to the edge of that chipboard. Okay, so we're lined up right to that edge. I have an overhang here, so I am going to trim that off. And then let's do the other side. That might be a little bit easier. So we're going to take this piece, do the same thing we did to the other side. And now looks like we're even there. So you can see that's what we have. So that's what we have. We're going to attach it. So I'm going to turn it this way just because it's easier for me to see. So I have my little shim. And set that in, pushing it up against my shim. Making sure I am lined up right to the edge. So looks good. So I am going to attach that one. Just like that. And then add some glue. And let's get the tape off. And again, bringing that right up, lining it up right to the opening. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, and then my little 1.5 inches, I have to actually cut some more. Alright, so I got some hinges made. So let's do secure the top one because that is the most important one. So we'll fit. Because as long as the top one lines up, the rest is all good. So I attached it to the top. So this guy is still loose. I'm going to line it right up with that edge. There, that's good. So let's go ahead and secure my other ones. And let's do the bottom. And same thing. Oh, that's right. I lined up. Let's do the same thing again. So Actually, that one lined up where it needed to go. So again, I used my grid here, so I lined up the inside part of this because the outside is giving you an extra 1/8 of an inch. So I'm lining it up on the line. I don't know how you can see it. Can't really see it different. So maybe that kind of showed you the 3 inches, hopefully. And if you ever wanted to, you could just do a little pencil mark at the 3 inch and just line it up that way too. Might be easier. I'm probably making it more challenging, because I know in my head what I'm doing, but you don't know in my head what I'm doing. Okay, so that is all done. Just got to add a little finishing hinge right there. And that's it. And then we can start putting it together. All right, so real quick, these two pieces, let's see if I can get it in the light. Right here, the two cardstocks didn't line up, so I just used a Sharpie to go in there. I'm not sure how much is going to show. We are going to put pattern paper over it. However, it's not all the way to the top. So just in case, I just added it to those two spots. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and, so this is the front of our clock because it's going to be kind of a shadow box style, and then, or the front of the bottom because it's shadow box, and then the top of the clock. So what we need to do, so everything is the same height, and what we need to do is attach everything. So, because these distances here are the same, if you centered everything and made it the 6 inches, and let's see how well I can show that. So you can see right there. So if I bring it up, you can see how it lines up, and then your pendulum part is going to hang down there. So the easiest way right now to do that, let's see, we are going to put hinges over here on the sides because we need to go ahead and make that lined up. So that might actually be the best way to get us centered first. So let's cut 2 hinges at the 3.5 inches. All right, so I cut my hinges, and we are going to do the same thing. We are going to put this right up to the edge, so it is not, that's my light right there, so it's not overhanging, and it's going to be level with this piece. Okay, that one, and then we'll do the other side. Make sure you are testing so it's not too big. Okay. So take this piece and this one now. So let's take the tape off of only one side. And we're going to just fold it up so it's not going to stick to this just yet. And we're going to line up those two holes together. And just use your fingers and your eyeballs to make sure it is where it needs to go. And then when you're confident, go ahead and stick down one side. Okay. So I'm pretty confident on that one. Okay, and now what you want to do before you stick down the other side, just tilt it up, and I'm going to have to support it on, so I'm going to support it on this. All right, so let me show you what I did. So before you go ahead and put this part together, the top and the bottom, we're going to go ahead and make these because this is what I'm going to use to support it. So these guys here, there's 2 for the bottom, 2 for the top. you're going to go ahead and watch the video to how to make these first before you do the top. Follow the direction on how to assemble. Do not listen to me on the measurements. So I'm going to give you the measurements right now, and I will write it down. And I'll tell you what you need. And then these were, yep, okay. So for each one of these, so in total for 2 to make, you're going to need to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you need to cut 12. And these are going to be 1 1/4 by 6 3/4. So these are the smaller ones. The taller ones, you need to cut 12 of them. And I believe these are, so it's basically the same height and size of the pieces on the clock. So these are going to be 1 by 8 1/8. So you need 12 and 12 to make those, along with the pieces where I'll show you how to go ahead and figure out these shapes here. So again, don't listen to my measurements. Just go ahead and follow my direction on how to assemble them, because the assembly is exactly the same. Again, it's just the measurement that's a little different, although I believe it's the same 1 1/4 and inch. It's just the heights that are different on these. All right, so go ahead, make those, and I will pause the video. We'll come back. I might edit it so you don't even see that part that I just did. So go ahead and make those, and then we'll continue. Get my notes. So this one I am going to call hexagon number 1. So for this piece here, it needs to be 2 5/8 by 2 1/4. So 2 5/8 lengthwise and 2 1/4 like this. All right. And then, oh, I should just write down this one. If you want, label it number 1. All right. So what you want to do on this one, we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to find our center. So considering it is 2 1/4, 1 1/8 is going to be your center point. So you would measure down 1 1/8, make a mark. Same thing on this side, 1 1/8, make a mark, or use your centering ruler. Same thing though, put it at 1 1/8 on your ruler, and you should be the same equal sides, put a mark. This one here now, to go from edge in, you're going to go 5/8 of an inch in, and that would be the one little tick mark past a 1/2 inch if you're not sure. And on the bottom, and then same thing right here. Okay, and then we're going to just do the same thing again. Line up all our spots. Just like that. And then I can actually just use scissors because this one's small. Okay. And that is that one. All right. And then we have one more to do, a smaller one. So this one here, we're going to do this one. This is going to be hexagon 2. So we'll go number 2, just so you know. And then this one is 2 1/8 by 1 7/8. And for this one, 7/8 is your center point. So let me just double check that. No, it's not. All right, so this one's a little odd because of my ruler. So we're going to go do it this way. 7/8 from the top, and then we're going to do 7/8 from the bottom. So if you do 7/8 up, you have this tick mark. 7/8 from here down, you have that tick mark. So go to the center of that. So let me get a different color pen. So I'm just eyeballing the center with that green dot in the center there, and that will be your center spot. So let's do it again. I didn't think it was right when I was figuring it out before. I was like, how can it be 1 7/8 and only 7/8 to the center? So that's where you would play into the 16th, but this doesn't have 16th, so doing it the next best thing. All right, so I know you really can't see the green too much on there, but we're doing in the center right there. I can see it's green, so when I draw my lines, I will know that. And then we're going to go 1/2 inch over on all the sides. Okay, and I have those marks. And then now I'm going to line them up to my green mark. Okay, and that's what I have now. And same thing, just going to trim it up. And there we go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get started on these pieces here. I know it's going to be hard to see, but these are kind of like our tower stands. So we have 2 sizes. So the smaller one and the bigger one. And this is going to help weight down the tower from tipping or anything like that, so it's not top heavy. So to do the bottom one, you are going to need 12 pieces of chipboard that are 12 by 1 1/4, and then you're going to need 2 pieces of your smaller template number 1. And I have 6 hinges here. These are 1 1/4 by 12. And we're going to get started putting these on. So let me go ahead real quick and trim all these up. Okay, they are all set. So we're going to start off by the first piece, and we're going to go ahead, whoops, I got 2, and we're going to set it right on top, and we're going to line it right up to the score line. Just like that. And then we're just going to continue on adding these one by one. And you want to butt it up right tight. Just like that. Don't worry about if you get anything excess overhanging, like that right there. We will trim that off when we're all done. So, or we'll trim it off before we go ahead with the next step, that is. So, you just want to focus on make sure your chipboard here and here line up. And if they don't, if you do have to, then you could just go in and trim it up with a craft knife. And the assembly for the longer one and the shorter one is the exact same way. So the shorter one, let me just show you. real quick, so the shorter one, you're going to use the smaller template number 2, and those you need to cut 6 of them at 1 by 7. So that's for the smaller one. And I'll go ahead and mention that one again when we get there. But I'm probably not going to show you how to do the smaller one because it's exactly how to do the bigger one. So if you get confused, just watch the longer one again. And just pretend like we're cutting the smaller one. So you can see right here, I'm lined up, but this is overhanging. So we'll have to trim that up because all this looks good up here, except for that one too. So I can show you how to trim those. Okay, and number 6. Okay, so first thing we can do is trim away the cardstock. So any cardstock that's overhanging. So you can see those little pieces there. And over here. So I have to trim just a tad, so I'm just going to take this. And you shouldn't have to trim very much. If you have to trim a lot, then maybe you cut something wrong. So you can see those little bits right there. And just that last one. Okay. So you can see, trim very thin little pieces. So now we can go put this hinge on. And then I can see that this one is clearly overhanging. So we can trim this one now. And then what we're going to do is, this is this part. So we can fold this back. So this is the hinge we just put on. Let's do it now one more. Because everything's going to, we're going to go ahead and make our tower. So we'll just fold it over the one, and then what we're going to do is bring this over. And we're going to just stick it right on top of that hinge. So now this is what we have. So you can see this is going to be our little tower piece. And we need to go ahead and attach these guys right on top. So let me get some cardstock. All right, so I'm taking my 2 templates number 1, or not my templates, but the pieces I cut out using template number 1. And I have a piece of cardstock. This is just 5 by 5. I added score tape to the whole back, and I'm going to set it right in the center. Just like that. Make sure it's burnished down. And then we'll do the same thing to this one. Okay. And we need to draw some lines. So we are going to, maybe that's what fell. I dropped something and I couldn't figure out what it was, and I think it was my pencil. Okay. So we're going to draw a 1/2 inch line all the way around. This isn't working. Okay. Just like that. Okay, and then we can do the same thing to the other one. I don't know if that was too much shadow. So, whoop. I think I'm gonna need a new pencil. Nope, it's no good. Let's try a pen. Right, I can see it. You won't be able to see it though. All right, so once you have your marks all the way around, just go ahead and trim them. And they're just a guide, so they don't have to be perfect. We're actually, once we attach this, they're going to be covered over. Okay. And then we need to add some score tape. This score tape will probably be the best. I'm not really sure if gluing is the best bet for this part. So what I'm doing is just lifting up my score tape to show that, and then just gonna attach all the way around. Okay. And last one. Okay. So now what you need to do is you're going to take this piece here and we're going to make some cuts. So from here to here, we are going to cut straight in parallel line to this piece here. And then you can rotate it, and in parallel to that line, and you're going to actually take these off. And try not to pull them because you don't want to tear your paper. So I'm just going to go through and do all one direction. So I'm cutting straight in line to that part. And then turn it, and then I'm going to cut it straight to this one. Oops. So now it's going to kind of look like a little flower. So what you want to do is now you can go ahead and kind of just burnish these up against the side. Oops. That way they're all creased. So you have them like that. Okay, and then what you're going to do is take your piece now and you're going to lay it on top. And you're going, so these two obviously are going to be the same shape. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to put it on. And if I look up, whoops, I don't know if I can turn it. So if I look up, you can see how that is going to line up with the edge. So what I'm going to do first is stick one of them down, make sure I'm lined up. and take the tape off. And I'm just kind of lightly sticking it because I can't really push. You can go like this now and push. And then I'm going to rotate it all the way around to the opposite side now, and I'm going to put this one on and make sure that those two pieces, let's see, going to make sure that that lines up like that. And then I can just start spinning it around and making sure everything is going to line up. So again, I'm just going to keep working opposite sides all the way around. And then I just have the two left. So you can see now, and this is sitting on top. So this piece here, this piece is sitting on top of this. So you can see that piece right there. So it sits on top. And as long as you trimmed them all up, they should all line up. So once you have that on, you can go ahead and burnish. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing for the bottom piece. I can't wait to see this decorated. And I have, this is the Halloween one. You might be seeing this for part of the Christmas version. I am doing a little something different to the Christmas one, which will be fun. So you may hear me refer to Halloween or Christmas. Most of the assembly will be the same for the Christmas one, with the exception of one spot. So I will probably use these videos in the Christmas one. So now I'm going to trim this up. So when I was doing this one, I had a really neat idea, and I'm not going to spoil it in case I put this one out before the Christmas. Well, this one definitely will be up for the Christmas one, but I have an alternative version for the Christmas because I know not everybody is Halloween. But I feel like if you don't see the Christmas style that I want to do, sometimes projects get stuck for whatever theme they're originally made for. So we're going to step it up and do Christmas. So that one's done. Fold all those, and then now the same thing. I'm going to flip it upside down. And this is just going to go on top. Same deal. And then all the way around to get the other side. That way you know you're going to be lined up. So if you're going back and forth like this, if you were to do it all, like say all clockwise or something, it's possible that you may not line up, and this way you know as you go you are lining them up. And then this one, and then over here. Okay. Okay, and then one other thing you might want to do before we do the next step is get a Sharpie and just hit these little areas, just in case our finishing hinges don't cover it. and it's easier to get this now than later. If you forget, you can always try to do it with a Sharpie, or just get a very tiny paintbrush and some black paint, and you can fill it in that way too. Alright, we're almost done. Alright, so before you go crazy putting hinges on all of this, we do have to do something a tad different, because one of our hinges are also going to be how we assemble this to the tower. So let me tell you how many you need to cut. So they're going to be the same size, 1 1/4, and then score down halfway down the middle. And you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So you're going to need to cut 7 hinges that are 12 by 1 1/4. And then go ahead and trim them up, so I'll show you. All right, so I have all my hinges cut out and trimmed up. And we're going to start putting these on that tower piece. And you do have 1 extra, and that's part of the assembly to attach it to the tower. I'm just bending these back real quick. All right. All right, so now we're going to take a piece, and I'm going to set it on, making sure I'm lined up. So do one at a time and then do the other. And before I stick that down, I like to just take and burnish it right in, just in case I didn't get it exactly lined up on the score line. Okay. And the next one. Now make sure you don't get ahead of yourself and do all of them. You want to stop when you have 1 left if you decide to go ahead. So lining that up there. And if you have if you left the tape on one part, you can kind of stick the bottom up, or stick the part with the tape. You can use that as a guide, and then get the other part stuck down. So I'm taking the tape off of this and then putting my corner in, making sure I'm lining up end to end. And the part with the tape that's still attached, I can hold it down here, and then I can feel with my fingers that I'm in the right spot, and then stick the sticky part down, if that makes sense. And if you do overhang with your hinges, just trim it, although you shouldn't, because you have the height of those little base pieces now added to the top of your tower pieces. So unless you put it on crooked or cut it longer than 12 inches, you should be good. All right, last one that we're completely putting on. Okay, so those are all on. So now you should have 2 hinges left, these 2 here. So what you're going to do with these is you want to fold it so you can see this, and then you're going to set it on just like this. so you can see this. So let's do it together first. I'll show you. So this is what I have, folding it like this. Okay, and I'm going to set it right to the edge of the chipboard. So you can see I'm lined up right. So we're looking at this side of the chipboard, so you can see where it's lined up, just like that. So stick that one down. And now we're going to do the same thing with this one. So right now you can see the flap. So this is where we would have normally put it on this side like this, but we're not. So you can see that. And now we're going to do the same thing to this side. So this one here is going to go right on top. So you can see, so this is what we have now. So right there, make sure both of these are down. So this is what's going to get attached to our tower. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. So this piece here, I'm using the bottom piece here that's going to end up attaching here as kind of my thing, so it's not going to collapse over. So let's just move it on camera. So we need to add some glue. So let's get a bunch of glue on here. And this will help keep it together. And then I'm going to do glue on the top. And then let's get some glue on this skinny little piece. So I don't want it really to squish out the side a lot on there. So, oops. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit. Okay, and then we can go ahead and bring this down, making sure you're lining up. So I can reach up inside here, and I'm just pushing those pieces together because I want that to glue nice. So let's go ahead and attach this piece down. And I'm just pressing the glue. Again, this piece is what's important. I need that to nicely glue. So what we can do now here is add a finishing hinge here, and that helps secure this piece, as well as a finishing hinge on the inside to attach these two together right here to make it a little more stable. So let's get those cut. So that's 6 inches, and then this is 8 1/4. All right, so cut my hinges. So this one here is going to go in the back. So I do got to trim it a little. And we're good. So let's get that on. Oops. Okay. Probably should have burnished it first, but it's on the back. And then we're going to go ahead and stick this one on the inside. So that is going on that piece there. And let's make sure we fit. We do fit. So let's get the tape off. And then if you look on the inside, so that is right in there. And burnish that one down. that is going around 2 pieces of chipboard, so you will have to burnish that one. Okay, and we're getting a little more stable. So you need these shims on the front to support the weight of the clock, and then we'll have to do some in the back after I put this piece on here, just because when I did keep my sample sitting, I put an ornament on the top and it did make this inside here bow, so I don't want to run into that problem. So we will go ahead and do that afterwards, just to keep the weight of the stuff from making this thing bend down. Although it's a lot sturdier now. Again, I just made the sample with some black tape, so it wasn't didn't have a lot of secure to it, but I just want to go ahead and make sure that that isn't going to cave. You don't want to make a big project like this and then have it not play nice. So the only thing I'm concerned about, I'm not sure how well this part here has stuck. So I'm going to go in with some glue in my finger, and I'm going in, I don't know how well you can see it. So there's a little bit of a lip on this back side here, and I'm just going to try to put some glue in there. And then spread it out with my finger. So you see the little bit of glue, and it's on the back side. I don't want it showing on the front. So it's on the, you might have to see how well yours line up, whether or not you have to glue it a different direction, but, or you may not need to glue it. I don't know. I'm just not sure if that's going to hold up. So I'd rather do it now than have it fall apart. All right, so anyway, before we get too far, let me just show you what we are doing. So let's take this apart. All right, and this is going to go on the front. So this is part here. This is where the pendulum will just kind of, oops, backwards, just go on, and then it just hangs and swings. So let's put the clock through, and I'm going to put the rubber washer on the top, and I'm just going to just kind of put it there for now. So then your pendulum part, you're going to go up through your hole now that you made. So I'm going to turn it around. I'm just going to lean it so you can see it. So this piece here, you're going to take it and you just hook it on. We're spinning on like that. And it's going to lean back so it's not. So your pendulum will be here, and the 6 inches is enough space where it's not going to bang the sides. So that is how we're going to put that part. So now we need to add our little pillars. And then it's all about decorating. And I just need to figure out how I'm going to do my lights, because I really want to add lights to it. It's a Christmas clock, so I think it needs lights. And Tamara's got some really awesome lights that she sent me, and I really want to see how those are going to work. And I haven't figured out if the lights are just going to go on the top. Maybe somehow we can figure out how to get them in through the other areas, because I would, ideally, I would like to go ahead and do that. So, because I didn't completely assemble this project. Oh, you know what we need to do is go ahead. Well, you know what? I think we can. I'm just going to go with Sharpie. So there's this little area right there where the chipboard's showing. I don't think it needs a hinge. It just needs some color. So I'm just going to Sharpie it. I don't even think you're going to see it, because technically it's on the inside. but just in case. Okay, so now our little pillars. So the shorter, fatter ones are going to go on the bottom, like that. So let's go ahead and, let's see, stick these on now. How do I want these? Do I want these flat up? I kind of feel like I want these to be like right up against this part here, but we do need to paper this side before it becomes like a permanent part of it. So I think we're just going to attach one side. So we're going to attach to the outside first, and my video, hold on. Okay, we're going to attach the outside here. My video keeps lagging, so in case it lags too much, I'm going to just stop it. So that is going to go. So let's see if I can turn it. So basically what I want to do is this flat side right here, the flat side right here, I want eventually to maybe attach it to this. We'll see. So I'm only going to attach it to the outside. And then if I do attach it, we can just easily fold this one around and then just crease it with the bone folder to get it to go flatter. So I kind of like that. And then the top ones, same thing. I'm going to want it to go flat up against the set. That one you can see a little better. So I want this one to go flat up against this. So let's get paper off. That one's stuck. So that sits back and that sits back. Yeah, they definitely have to sit back, but we have to add some paper here first, because if we attach them, then we're going into like other seams and stuff. So we'll put the paper down and then we'll, oops, you can't see. This is what I get when I make big projects. Eventually you cannot really see. So we're going to put paper here first, and then we'll attach that there so it sits flat against there, because I really like how that looks flat against up there. And don't worry about the height difference. We're going to be adding a lot of embellishments. So let's do the other one. Again, it's just going to the outside. So and the top. Oops. Okay. All right. So let's just go ahead and lay it down. Just back it up. So right now, this is what our clock looks like. These guys we will attach afterwards, because then we can just burnish them in to kind of help hold. And then same thing with this one. Once it's in the side, we can just go ahead and attach those down like that. And then I showed you what the pendulum part will look like, so that'll be underneath down here. So let me show you my decorations real quick. So I picked these little guys up at Walmart. So this is going to match the paper perfectly. So I have my little nutcrackers. And I think these guys are probably going to look super cute in the smaller sections here with the paper. Just like that. And then of course I have the pendulum clock here. On the top, I got these at the at-home store, so I got this little crown that I want to put here, and I picked up these cute little birds that I'm going to attach here and here, so the birds will be there, and then the crown will be here. And I have these little Christmas trees in my stash, so I might pull them off the ball. I think I got these at Michael's last year, so I don't know if they'll be coming out with these this year or not, but Walmart, I think, had something similar to this in the same pink line that we had these guys. And I was thinking of putting these guys all the way in the back corner, and I did test it originally. The pendulum clock does not interfere with those. The only thing is I don't think the ball part, I haven't decided if I'm going to keep that ball part, which does kind of look cute, so I could add a little fluffy snow in there. But anyway, that's where we are right now. So we are going to pick out some paper. We're going to try to figure out our lights and move on. All right, so let's figure out our clock part. So I'm using the 8x8 paper pad, which I happen to love, 8x8s. Let's see what we want to do the top of our clock with. I love this image. It's almost a winner. She's adorable. The backgrounds there are nice. The nutcracker might go in the smaller spots with the nutcracker spot, because that would be cute to have it in the background, and then he looks like he's walking out. That's cute. Maybe that for the back and the bottom middle. So then I put my Christmas trees in the front of that. So that would be even cute for the top. Be like up, up, and away, kind of like I did with my witches. But I really like that image. Let's see. Oops. I think that might be cute, because then if I have the clock here, I can put some twinkling lights inside the paper. That is really, really pretty. I think that's going to be my winner. So let's move this out of the way. So because my top is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, this should fit perfectly in there. So, which means we want to make sure that our hole will line up for our clock part. So we're just going to make a little bit of mark with pencil, just so I have an idea. And I'm not going to attach any of this anyway until I take care of my sides on there, because this will have to be attached once I make those permanently down there. So I have to do the sides first to take care of that. However, I can figure out this piece. So I'm going to put a hole right in the center, and then just kind of a couple more. So just a little hole, and that's just going to be a guide so I can figure out my lights. Look at that. I don't know if I have enough lights to go, if they're long enough to go through. Oh, there we go. So if I do a few lights in here, and I'm thinking I'm going to do is figure out on the back where I want them. Maybe punch some holes with the smaller, because I want to do this first. Punch some holes with the smaller punch, and then maybe a clear acetate over it. That way the lights don't come through. So let me figure out what I'm doing, and then I'll walk you through it. So up next, we are going to go ahead and add our lights, and let me just show you. So I put them down in here, you might see them a little bit better. So you're going to need 2 sets, one for the bottom, one for the top. The top part is going to be easy because you're going to thread it through the hole for where the post for the clock goes. However, the bottom is a little bit more challenging. So I've already made my holes to figure out where they need to go. So I will walk you through that, and then I will show you how I did it, if I can find a pokey tool. And, oh, here we go. All right. So this is the front of the clock, because this is the part here where the clock face is going to go. This is the bottom part for the shadow box. So I am going to go around to the back side, okay? And I will show you where you need to make holes. So now is going the opposite way, okay? So all the holes are on the back side, and I will number them. That way it's easy for you to know. So right here is going to be 1. Actually, I probably should use a Sharpie. Okay, that's hole 1. Hole 2 is right there. Hole 3 is right there. And then 4 and 5. Okay. So if I give you some measurements, if you just want to kind of keep in line with what I have, the first one is 2 inches up. Oops. And then this one is probably, we're going to go 1 1/4. So from here to here is 1 1/4. And then if you go all the way, 3 will be at 3 1/2 inches. And 4 from this side is 4 1/4. And then this one should be the same, 1 1/4. Okay, that's just to kind of give you a guide. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it kind of will show you where to put the holes. So for the first one, basically what I did is I just went into my seams. So for the first one right here, see if I can stand it up. So you can see the first hole right here. And all I did was put a hole in through, and then I just kind of circled around to get the hole wider, because what you do need, you don't want the holes too big, but you want them big enough to be able to thread through these little lights. So you can put them in like that. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to start. So let me just put it up for a second, and I'll show you how we start this. All right, I am just going to use some black masking tape to hold everything down. Okay. And I'm going to start off by, let's see if I can lean it at all on something. All right, I think that'll be good. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to take my base, or my switch, and I'll put tape on it. And that is going to go right here. So I'm going to hold it down there with the tape. So we're going to start threading it through. So the first one, we're going to go to hole 1. So again, let me just tell you, through where the seams are, where the 2 chipboards connect, all the way across. So those other 4 holes, and then I just went ahead, made the hole big enough. I actually used a pen and kind of stuck the pen in it, and again, kind of circled it around. If you want to, once you do that, just hit it with a Sharpie to kind of hide all of the chipboard part that's kind of hanging out. But I figure once I get done, if I have to, I can just go back with some black paint and a thin little brush to kind of tidy that up. But this is the back side, so you don't have to really worry about it. And then the inside, I can just do the a Sharpie or a pen So we're going to start by threading through the first hole, and you're going to thread all the way through. Okay, almost done. You can see it's coming out the bottom. And there's that one. And all right, so there's that. And now I'm just going to hold this down, so I'm going to get some more tape. Okay, so that's through the first hole. I'm going to flip it around. Okay, let's lay this one down. So now I'm going to go ahead and add some of my lights through. So for this one here, hold on, let me just push the cord through. I think I had it through more before. Oops. This needs to come closer. All right, so the little part here where the wires got a little rubber stopper, I want that part to go in. So that entire little rubber end, and then this can go on. Because this has 3 lights on that half, that piece. Okay. So I'm just going to add some tape. It's right there just to hold it. And I'm going to add some more. So I'm only using the first 3 lights in this section. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this now in hole 2 on the back side. We're going to come up through this one right here, the one closest to the edge. So we're just going to feed it up through, just like this. And as you can see now, there's just the 3 lights in here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back down through hole 3. Whoops. So we're going to go down through hole 3, which is the middle section of this piece. So you'll notice the middle piece has 2 holes. So you can see right here in the corners, right there and over there. So we're going to go down through one and up through the other. So I'm threading it through. And you're going to have lights that are going to be hanging out the back side. Okay. Now before we do anything in the middle here, we're going to go ahead and thread up through hole 4. So now we're going back up this way. You don't have to pull it all out. So because we used 3 lights on this side, I only want to do 3 on that side. So I'm only going to thread through 3. There's 1, 2, and 3. Oops. I'll lay it down. And I have my 3, and I'm going to tape it in place. And that way it won't move. Okay, oops. So now we're all the way threaded through. So now whatever I have extra, and just go ahead and just bring it back through. And I'm just going to put tape on it here to keep it in place so it doesn't, whoops, doesn't move. And then this is what you have left for the middle. And I'm just going to kind of twist it a little so it will kind of lay a little flatter. And just tape it all down. And last one. Okay, so that's how you do the first one. And actually that was the hardest one to do. So then now for the top one, I'm going to use my next set of lights. And I'm going to lay it down. Well, let me stand it up so I can put more lights. You can turn these ones off. This one here now, you get some tape on it and then I'll show you. Whoops, I need a bigger piece than that. So then this one is going to go in this little box. And that is just going to go right here. And then this part here, the whole cord, literally you are just going to go right down through the hole where the clock goes. Let me put the lights on so you can see better. And then you're just going to feed it all the way through. And then all I'm going to do is just tape this piece down just to secure it in place. So, and I'll show you 1 second. So I put piece tape there, and actually that's making that too tight. Let's move this over a little bit. So I just put piece tape there to hold it, and right there. And then the little switch box is right there. And then all I'm going to do is just wrap it around and keep taping it down. I think I just need to bring that through more. Hold on. Where that bulb is through the hole, it's going to get caught up on the post for the clock. So just rework it. And the nice thing right now is you can just keep making changes till you get it to how you like it. So that's what I have. So it is kind of sticking out a little bit there, but that's okay. It's the back, so you're not even going to see it. All right. So now I have it through more here because of this, because before this little bulb was too close to the hole, and I was afraid when you put the post for the clock in that it will it'll break the bulb when you tighten it. So now I think I'm going to go circle. And what I'm going to do too is I am probably going to use some foam tape to back my paper. This piece is going to go over it here. I'm probably going to use some foam tape to back it to make this a little raised. That way it doesn't squish my lights, and it also won't make the paper look weird, because if you have it on, it's not going to be even. So you can see the lights right through that. Oops. We're going to do some, we're going to put holes in this afterwards. So make sure that you have your lights where you want them. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not doing anything special, just putting it where I think it will look good. Okay, and then if you just want to be sure. So it's basically what it's going to look like. And you can see the way we did it, it doesn't really matter. Let's keep, I wonder if I could get that one. I know it's probably asking too much to try to line it up with those treetops. But that one here just needs to go down a little. And I don't think I'm going to get it down. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to rework it all just for that. But that's going to be pretty. And then you have the lights on the bottom, and the paper will do the same thing down there. So okay, so now what we need to do is I'm going to turn it upside down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is figure out, do I want to put those down now? Yeah, let's go ahead and stick these ones down. I'm not sure why I haven't stuck those ones down yet. So I'm just going to hold this to the side because I want this piece, I want this on the side. Maybe it was for the paper, but I got room to put paper under it. So, and then this one, I'll hold that down to the side and do the same thing. Okay. And then my paper, I do want to make sure that it is going to be lined up exactly where I want it. So let's go hit it with some tape. And I'm going to get some of the sticky off of it. I'm just going to lightly put some tape on there. And let me eyeball it this way. It's actually not centered. Hold on. If do it standing up, maybe it'll be better. Okay, that looks good like that. It's so close to being on that tree. Okay, so hold on. I really want to put that on that tree. Did I get it? I almost got it. Looks like it. Close enough. It's not perfect, but it does look pretty good. Okay, so this is lined up to where I want it now. So I lined it up as if I was going to attach it, and my lights are taped down, so you only want to do this part when you're absolutely sure of your lights. And let me get a pencil. And all I'm going to do is where all my little lights are, just going over with a pencil on them. Is that all of them? Okay, that looks good. So I'm just going to take my tape off. Let's move that out of the way and turn them off. So now I have all my little pencil dots where my lights line up. And now we're just going to go and punch holes in them. And 3 more, looks like. And that looks like all of them. Okay, and let's see how close we were. So then this should line up all my holes. Oh, I missed one. Probably should have counted the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16. What am I missing? Oh. I did miss some. I'll be right then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Did I count that right? Probably too late at night for me to be crafting. Oh, that should be the last one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Still missing one. Which one am I missing? 3, 3. Because I counted wrong. I guess I'm on now. Oh, there is the other one. Line them all up. I promise, it's not that hard. Really, it just is for me. Okay, now I got them all. So now we're going to just line up like that. Yeah, that looks much better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of acetate and we're going to cover the back. That way our lights don't pop through, or they do pop through, but there is just something else protecting it here. So let me cut a piece of acetate. All right, so the next what we're going to do is we're going to add some foam tape to the back of this because I want it a little raised over the piece. So I am using some Crafty foam tape that I just got in from Scrapbookers or Country Craft Creations. That's neat. It's got like a really hard plastic piece right there. That's interesting. So now I'm going to go all around the perimeter of this. So for the bottom pieces, we are going to do the exact same thing. All right, and I want to put some in the center, but I think I'm going to put it on the clock itself. So let me turn it. So then now this will sit raised up just a little bit, which looks good. So let's go ahead and add some strips of foam tape to that. And then that way it will help protect the lights. And I think this will be the last little bits. And right there. And put one right there. And that one right here. Okay, and then this will just, whoops, upside down. That will sit nice just like that. All right, so what is the best way for me to stick this on and see it? I guess I need to put the lights on. I guess the lights actually are going to be what's going to guide me. So where's my full strip? My full strip's on this side. So by full strip, I mean it goes completely end to end. So I'm just going to lift these a little. And then let's do the same to these. Actually, it comes off much better than score tapes, tape backing. Okay, so the top, what did I say, my side. Now I'm moving it all over the place. I see that. And we make sure that's good. Okay, that looks good. So let's give it a good push down. And now I'm just going to go in and remove all of my tape. Just be careful how much you lift it, because you do have acetate on it and you don't want to cause any creases. So I'm going to just look at that. And that looks pretty good. Let's get the light off. And there we go. Super cute. All right, so that post may have a hard time, but it should be okay. If I have to, on the back, I'll test the post afterwards. If I have to, I'll just trim away a little bit of the chipboard with a craft knife. But make sure I don't want to make my hole too big. But there we go. It's coming out so cute. I'm going to show you where I'm at right now. So this is the top that we already put on with puffing this up with the foam tape. And then I went ahead and did the tower parts. So you can see all right in there. So that's pretty easy. It's basically just cutting 1-inch strips and laying them out on top of these pieces here. So there's not a whole lot that really needs to be shown. It's just cutting strips and putting them on. So now the bottom half, so this half down here is going to be done the exact same way that I did up here. I feel like I'm lagging. So what I did was down here is I went ahead and cut out my piece, and then I laid it in. Did the same thing that we did before. My light's on. So you can see right here with the lights, and then I went ahead and used the little nutcracker paper to go in my sides. So you can see where that one lines up, and then this one over here. And you can see how those, so the same thing, I just cut my piece, laid it in, dotted it. I cut the paper almost, I didn't go shorter for the inside here, because usually you have a little bit of a border when you go ahead and do the pattern paper on top of the cardstock. But because I knew I didn't have a whole lot of room here, and when I do put the foam tape on and set it in, I kind of need to get it in one shot. I really can't line it up. So I cut it almost the size of the opening, of course, and tested it first. So this way, when I put the foam tape on and stick it in, it's going to be pretty much the size of the opening. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room right in there. So that's what I have right there right now. So I'm going to go ahead, add my foam tape, and stick these down. So I'm not going to really show that, but the exact same way we did this is the exact same way we do these other 3 little openings here. So, and then of course I added, you can see it, you'll be able to see it now. I added the acetate, so there's acetate on there. There you go, you can see it right there. So anyway, and then I inked the edges, and I thought she was going to be cute because if I go with the Christmas tree that I have, I'm going to put the Christmas tree in the corner like that, and then it'll just look like, you know, the Christmas tree's there with her. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and attach those down and probably start cutting out paper to fill in on the sides and this part here, which you really don't need to see too much of that because it's, like I said, pretty cut and dry. You're just cutting it and sticking it on. So I will get some of this down and then I'll show you where I'm at. This is where I currently am at on the box. So this is what I did for the paper inside the bottom. I used the really cute Nutcracker one, and then with her right here, she's right in the middle, and then I used the back side for that paper. And then I went ahead and papered my my little side pieces there. I still have to do the top and the bottom of these, or the top of those, but it's pretty much done as far as paper goes. I just have to do a little bit of areas, and then I can go ahead and start adding embellishments and everything to it. But to cut these, pretty simple. These pieces here are cut at, I did 1 1/8 on these ones here, because I think the overall was, yeah, 1 1/4. And usually go in 1/4 inch, but it's too much black if you go in too far. And I wanted to keep most of it so you could keep a lot of the scene on it. So I thought that was cute. And then this is what I did for the top. Really super cute. So it's pretty cut and dry as far as cut and dry. Pretty simple as far as papering everything, but that just gives you an idea of what I used. And then the bottom, I went ahead and used this pretty pink collection here. So it's coming out super cute. So I think I'm going to finish doing the tops on these guys and the top, and I'll probably just neaten up in here with some black cardstock because you don't really need pattern paper there, but I just want to finish it off. And then the back side, I will probably do the same in with the clock area, but on this back part here, I just cut a piece of black cardstock and then just taped it down to kind of hide all the wires and stuff in here. So just have a little bit more to go, and then it's time to go ahead and decorate it, and it's going to be really fun. This is what I did to the top. So I went ahead and added the cute little bows towards the front of the box. It's going to have stuff on top, so you're really not going to see too much of this stuff, but I did want to add some pattern paper. And then to this one and this one, I used the same as well as back here and on this side. Then what I did was I went ahead and added some black cardstock inside there just to finish it off, as well as the bottom. And flip it over. Then I went ahead and added some black cardstock to all the sides in the box. In this one here, I had to piece together. So you may want to do this full back piece before you start adding your lights. This one you'll have to add after the lights because you want to cover the wires. But this is too, it can't fit in flat, so it kind of has to stick up. So if you do this one first and then your wires, and then I just added a little bit in here. I'm not going to worry about like that back spot. I'll probably hit it with Sharpie or some black paint just to kind of, you know, not make it so much of the chipboard showing. But anyway, that is all of that. So it looks super pretty. So I think what's next is we're going to go ahead and add some snow text to this. And then in the mail, I just got the Art Glitter Glue glitter spritzer. So you're supposed to use the ultrafine glitter from Art Glitter. You can only use the ultrafine, and apparently this is made to use it. So you put it in dry, you put glue on your project, and then spritz it with the glitter. So I'm excited to see how that's going to look, as well as I got these Heartfelt Creation dies from Country Craft Creations, and I want to make some poinsettia flowers to go ahead and add in on these pieces here, because I think if I use the pattern paper that matches this, I think it'll look really pretty. Maybe even use the pink paper that I used on the bottom, so I have little pink poinsettias, and then maybe I'll spritz them with the glitter. I think those would be really pretty and make it sparkle. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to start adding some snow text. I've never used it before, so we shall see what it looks like. Alright, so I have my snow text right here. I think that there is a product that Tamara has in the shop. Let me get the name real quick. Alright, she is using the Finial Layer texture paste, which I'm pretty certain is pretty close to this. So I'm going to go ahead and set it on. Let's lay it down a little bit. I'm nervous because I don't want it to mess up my project. So I'm just sticking it on. And I want it to kind of look like the snow is kind of drifting down on it. So that looks like it will be cute. Let me stand it up. I think I need to do it standing up a little bit. I'll show you in a second. And then I'll probably let this dry a bit before I start spritzing it with the ultra fine glitter. And all I'm doing is just spreading it on with a spatula. That looks cute. So once you get it all the way on all of them, I think it's going to look pretty neat. So I'm going to go ahead and keep spreading that on because I really can't hold it at an angle to show you very well. Let's see. Let's try just a little this way. But I think it's going to look really cute when I add the glitter to it. So like that. Thin that out a little bit. Right here, bring it down. But anyway, I'm just going to keep going to town with this and let it dry and we'll see how it looks. But I think it's going to look really cute. So this is what this one looks like with the fake snow on. Whoops, fake snow on it. I didn't go all the way to the back because you don't need to see it. I did just add a little to the edge. I might just add a little more just to clean up that little spot there. But I'm also tempted to stick this, glue this to the side because I really want them to be to the back. I don't want them forward because I don't want anything to interfere with the shadow boxes in the front. So I think I am probably going to attach those somehow. So I think I will, do I want to glue it? You know what, I'm going to get the hot glue out and then hot glue this because I want it to stick, and I don't want to keep adding too much snow and then have it move. And I think I originally had said in the videos when I was doing it that I wanted these to the back, and I think I still do. So I'm going to heat up the hot glue gun and then attach that down so I don't have to worry about these pieces moving too much and breaking any of the snow that I'm putting on them. All right, so I think my hot glue gun is all heated up. So I need to stop making big projects because I'm running out of room on my desk to show. So just gonna go ahead and add some glue. And just hold that there. Because I just don't want to have these posts here come forward too much, and then it blocks off the little shadow boxes. They're small enough as it is, so I don't want to lose any light on them. So let's do this guy. So if you are going to glue them, I would say that you do not need to add paper to the last one, because it looks like I could have saved that paper. But considering I didn't know what I was doing, and let's turn it around. And let's do this side. I'll just do this one first. I don't have a cordless glue gun. I heated it up with the cord, and then the cord just comes off of it. So. And then this one here. And I'll just hold that and let that dry. And now I don't have to worry about my fake snow coming off. All right, so those are done. So now I can go ahead and I'm going to finish adding my snow. So you can see the top right here with all the little snow text on it, and here is where I added the snow text to the inside of the box, right in the front corners, and then what I added around those pieces there. It is drying really hard, so once the rest of it's done drying, I will go ahead and do the art glitter glue. I'll sponge on some glue, and then I'm going to use this because I'm super excited to see how the little spritzer works. Although I have a feeling I'll be covered in glitter. But I think, just like Christmas lights, I think this calls for glitter. So it'll be super sparkly. Okay, so that's where I put all of my flowers. They look really, really pretty. And then on the bottom, got those ones over there and there. So up here, I wasn't really happy about how the snow looked right there. So that was a perfect spot to go ahead and add a flower to kind of hide a little bit what I didn't like. Over here in the corner, I felt like it was missing something just because it was kind of a plain area. So I added one there as well as up here. So you can go ahead and use embellishments to kind of hide oopses or areas you're not really happy with. But the paper collection matches perfectly with my handmade paper flowers because it's made for it. So really, really pretty right there. I love that. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut up this little bush. And we're going to start adding it in some places where, I think on the top where my birds are, probably add a little bit inside the bottom areas. just to kind of fill it up a little bit. So let me get cutting some of this up and then we'll start doing that. Okay, so before we start embellishing, you need to cut 3 strips that are 2 by 8. And what I noticed when I had my sample originally made, and I wasn't sure if it was going to do it with this one or not because my sample wasn't constructed 100% solid, but I feel like this might end up doing the same thing. So on the top part here, when you start adding stuff, this is going to start to bow, and I don't really want it to do that. I want it to stay solid and flat. So cut out 3 pieces of chipboard that are 2 by 8. We're going to glue all these together, and we're just going to slide this in here kind of as a support to keep the top from sagging. So let's just go ahead and tape it. I don't feel like gluing. So we're just going to go ahead and add these. We're also going to wrap them just so it is matching everything else. So I'm going to wrap these with cardstock. And I'm doing 3 of them just to give it a little more stability and thickness, because I don't want the weight of the top, if you do make it too heavy, depending on what you use for embellishments, you may not even need it if you don't put anything heavy on it, or you may want to just in case, because over time I'm sure it will start to sag a little bit on you. All right, so if you have 3 of them here, it's going to give you a nice hard piece here to not fold away. And now full tape coverage, because we are going to put some paper around it. Overlap that one. And let me get some cardstock. So this is 2 by 8. I'm going to make it 2, 4. Let's do 4 by 11. All right, so I cut my cardstock 4 by 11. Just going to put my spacers in. Oh, I guess I went 8. Oh, it should have been 10, not 11. 4 by 11. I mean, not 4 by 10. 4 by 10 on that instead. And is this 1 inch? Let's, you know what, let me use this one. I currently have 3 projects I am working on, and my goal today is to get at least 1 finished. And hopefully I can do that. That one's out of that one. And you guys know about wrapping because we've wrapped enough stuff on here. And we just want to make it clean. It's in the back, and I know you won't see it, but we just want to make sure it all looks clean. We went through the time of taking the time to wrap the back part of it, so we should continue to make it all look pretty. Okay. And we'll smush those in. And then we'll just hit part of that with a Sharpie. Yeah, I probably should have done it first, but we're not going to see it, so I'm not too worried. Actually, my Sharpie's dead. Let's get another one. So that is 2 by 8, so I'm going to cut a piece at 1 3/4 by 7 3/4. And we're just going to stick that on the back like that. And let's see how it is. Okay, and then test it, and I think we're pretty good. So I think I'm just going to hot glue that on there. Of course, my hot glue cooled down. Okay, I think my glue is hot enough. So what I'm going to do is add glue to one end and to the other end. You're going to want to do this before you add your embellishments to the top, because you can take and lift this up a bit to get it in there, and then push it down to hold it in place. And then that's what you have now. So you have a little bracelet in there to keep your top part from collapsing on you. Okay, back to crafting now. So I'm working on cutting my pieces out, trying to decide how I want to put them on. So right here I have like this little guy, and then my birds are supposed to go over on the edge. So might have to adjust something with my birdies. I don't know if this will go. I do like that, but I don't think it's going to fit there, although it might fit in the bottom. Could put it in the bottom a little bit, and then my tree, which I'm going to glue in the back corner. The bird would look cute there, but I want her to stand out. So I'm going to go ahead, cut some pieces out, see what I like, and we'll go from there. So I put my little nutcracker in. So he's just hanging out right there. I did hot glue him in, and then I just added a little bit of greenery right there. I don't want to overpower too much stuff on there. Just wanted a little bit just to kind of add something to that area. So then I'm going to go ahead and glue in the next guy. They have the little stickers on these bottoms. If you have anything, make sure you peel it up, because when you go to hot glue, you're going to hot glue the paper, and then that easily will just fall off your project. So just double check the bottoms of any of your embellishments you might be adding, just in case. So he just hot glued him right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing, just putting a little bit of greenery in. And pokey tool so I don't get burnt. Just to add, kind of like the flatter ones on here than the big puffier ones. Yeah, see, it doesn't look good with that bigger one. And I just want to add another one to that one because it's a little thin. Hot glue strings everywhere. So, and there's him, just a little bit of greenery. And what about my tree? All right, so my tree, I put glue here, here, and on the bottom. So, you know, I need to make sure this pendulum is not going to interfere with that tree. So let's throw that in there. And let's see. Oh, I have plenty of room. All right, now I'm just going to figure out what side of the tree I like better. I like that one. So where my fingers are is where this part, so where my fingers are here, this part is going to be attached to the box, and then the bottom. So let's go some hot glue right there. Careful not to burn myself. And then on the bottom, and just hold it for a second. And that's where I put my tree, right there. Kind of fits perfect with her and her little presents. And I need something around the tree. Let's see. I feel like I need something more in there because it is supposed to be Christmas. Maybe I'll find, maybe I'll get to find some little presents to stick in there. Or I'll make some little presents. And I put this one, I'll show you what it looks like. And then I just put a little bit of greenery down there. I tuck the stem pieces kind of towards the back. Considering it has snow in it, I kind of want to make it look like it's outside and we're looking in on a window. So now my birds, let's see. Okay, let's see what I can do. Let's stand up. So if I kind of go like this, and then my little bird sits on it like that, so let's glue that in. And then I'll add more glue to the bird because I need to really make sure the bird sits there. So that'll be kind of cute. Whoops, it's already gonna sit there. All right, let's load that up with a bunch of glue. There he goes. And let's see what we got for the other side. I really like the one with all the snow on it, but I want to use it for the top part. Might be too big. Let's cut some away. I didn't like how that piece was going to stick up from the hard part of that piece. Glue. And actually, I probably had better tip it. I have a lot of glue. I need that to dry first. I'll let that dry and then I'll show you. All right, and then I have these little trees here. I'm just going to set on the shorter posts. And I'm not going to add any greenery to that because I don't think it needs it. Kind of want it to look like it's sitting on top. So we're going to add a bunch of hot glue here. So it has all that glue on it. Let's angle it a little bit. There's a hole in the top of the tree for hanging, so then we'll do, I know you can't see it, but I'm going to do this side over here. And then all the glue on the bottom. Okay. It's coming along. I just need to do the top. Now I didn't like how open that one was because my birds are going to get caught now. Now my piece is getting a monster, become a monster. So I didn't like how open this was, so I cut a pine cone to see, and the pine cone fits inside, and I actually kind of think it looks really cute with the pine cone in there. It does look neat. So I'm going to put some greenery down and then add the pine cone and then this to the top. So I still like this. I'm just having a hard time getting that to work, but I think if I do that, and then this will go on top, it'll hide the bottom, because what I didn't like was when this was on it, you could see this area. So I think I'm going to go for that. Like that. And it has to go in the middle, like there. So I think I'm going to do my pine cone first. Make sure we're centered. That looks good there. So I guess it's a good thing I put that brace in the back, because I just pushed down without realizing. All right, we're going to let that dry. All right, so that's on, and then I need to glue this guy down, so I just added glue to the bottom. There. I like that. Into the back so we don't have to worry too much. So tacking it down. Let's see what else I can do. Have anything else on here I can pick off? Ouch. Without stabbing myself. So just added a bead of glue down to that. Let that dry. Pretty. I think I need something. I need a little something. Whoops, you can't see. A little something right there. So yeah, it's hard. So if I put that right there, that kind of does the trick. Kind of builds that up a little bit. Alrighty. You know, instead of presents in the bottom, oh shoot, why are you crooked? My hat is crooked. I need something under the corner of my hat. Alright, I'm going to build that up with something under it to shim it. So if I stick, that will shim it. So let's get some glue in there. And that little greenery. Get under there, little bugger. And then I can hide that. Perfect. There, now you don't see my shim. Except for these glue strings are going to drive me crazy. Alrighty, so I'm going to let that dry a minute. And let's see. Instead of putting presents, what if I put a little sign in there and I just glue it down to the base to kind of fill up some of that area? I like the Merry Christmas. I think I'm going to go with that one. So I'm going to cut this out and see what it would look like. Okay, so I cut this out here. I'm going to back it to some chipboard because I want it to stay sturdy. So kind of making my own chipboard embellishment. Okay, and I'm going to trim that out. Alright, so I just cut it out with the chipboard. I just need to test to make sure it is not going to interfere where I want to put it. No, not at all. I can come pretty far out with that, actually. Where do I want to put that? Maybe right there. So what I want to do is, I think I want to add some glitter to this because it needs some glitter. So let's see about adding some sparkle. Can I cut more? So if we just kind of do that. Let's see if I can pick up any that's left. Do that. And then you can see the sparkle on the edge. Okay. And then the bottom. Oops. Okay. There's that. And let's see. Where's my sparklets? These had cute little snowflakes. Let's see. Let me add a snowflake. I think that'd be cute. Alrighty. I think my radio got louder because I think you might be able to hear that. Alright. Now, so I just added just one little snowflake. And we're going to glue that in, I think right about there. So, yes, we cooled down. I always forget to plug that back in. All right, so let's go ahead and glue this in. My hot glue gun is good to go. Get the goobers off of it. So now this is lower than where my pendulum clock is going to hang out. So I don't have to worry about clearance on this. So I can bring this for a lot closer to the front than I was thinking I was going to be able to. So I am going to bring it right up to the front. So I'm just going to let that dry. Okay, let's see, as long as nothing is going to fall. So that is the top. You can see all the other, and then let's scoot. So I put the little Merry Christmas closer to the front. I'm going to have to change the angle of my camera so I can show it to you head on. So this also had a protective coating, which we can now take off. And I know you can't see that, but I got to find a battery, and then we'll just go ahead and call it done. So now I'm just going to say this now just in case I forget to mention it later. If your pendulum clock starts rubbing on the inside of here, just shim up the bottom a little bit with a little piece of chipboard just to kind of angle it back just a tad. Not, you don't want to go too crazy, but just a little bit. If it should rub, I think I'm going to be good. But if you should notice any rubbing of the pendulum on the front part of this box, because it'll interfere with it going, just shim up the bottom just a tad bit. You don't have to do a lot. Just make sure that it's black so it matches the bottom, and you probably won't even see it. If you do have to shim it, you're not going to probably have to shim too much more than the width of a piece of chipboard, just to like bring the front up just a tad. But you may not even have to do that if you cut it right. And I don't think I have any rubbing on it. I'll have to wait till it starts moving and then see if it hangs up. But anyway, I'm going to work on changing the angle of my camera so you can see this, and then I can put the lights on and see how pretty it looks. But anyway, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up if you like this project. I think it came out awesome. Anyway, until next time, guys, happy crafting. Bye.